Welcome to this explainer. Okay, we're diving straight into a topic that, let's be honest, sounds a little dry at first glance: decoding the Norwegian Forest Cat Kitten contract. But I want you to completely reframe how you view this document. It is absolutely not just a legal burden or some tedious paperwork standing between you and your new best friend. It is literally the ultimate safety net for what is, hopefully, going to be an amazing 15-year relationship. This isn't about planning for failure, it's about guaranteeing your peace of mind from day one.
Which brings us to a really compelling question. Is a handshake enough? Because we tend to romanticize adopting a kitten. You meet this seemingly wonderful breeder, you instantly bond over how majestic these cats are, they give you their word, and you think, okay, I trust them. But relying solely on a verbal promise when making a massive emotional and financial investment, that is an incredible risk. A handshake might feel really good in the moment, but it offers absolutely zero real protection if things go sideways down the line.
And this perfectly illustrates why. When we compare verbal assurances to a written contract, the differences are just stark. Without a written agreement, you're entirely relying on human memory. And let's face it, memories, even well-intentioned ones, fade. They get blurry. They get hotly disputed, especially months or years after the initial conversation. A written contract, on the other hand, gives you concrete security. It separates a fully protected adoption from a highly vulnerable transaction, giving you a defined path for recourse if the unexpected actually happens.
So here is our roadmap for today's explainer. We'll cover 1. The risk of trust, 2. The 8 essential clauses, 3. Reading the fine print, and finally, 4. Breeder red flags.
The risk of trust. Okay, imagine this. You bring home this gorgeous, energetic kitten. You are completely in love. But then, right around day 35, a serious health issue suddenly pops up. You reach out to the breeder you thought you trusted and crickets. They totally ghost you. Without a written contract, trying to get any formal help or vet reimbursement is practically impossible. That is the exact nightmare scenario we want to avoid. And honestly, this isn't just my opinion. Look at this guidance directly from the AVMA. A written contract establishes clear expectations up front, reducing the likelihood of disputes escalating. Asking for a contract isn't an insult to a breeder's integrity. It's a mutually beneficial framework. Good breeders actually want this because they know it protects both of you.
Section 2. The 8 essential clauses.
Think of these first 4 clauses as absolute armor for your cat's health and your wallet. First up, the health guarantee. This is your baseline. It mandates coverage from 30 days for general health issues all the way to several years for genetic conditions, and outlines specific remedies like vet reimbursements. Then there's the return policy. Look, life happens. This ensures your cat stays in a safe, verifiable network instead of facing an uncertain rehoming situation. Deposit terms prevent messy financial misunderstandings before you even get the kitten. And finally, strict spay and neuter requirements protect the pet quality lineage by setting hard, clear deadlines.
Now, why is a multi-year guarantee absolutely critical? 2 words: GSDIV and HCM. These are really serious, breed-specific genetic conditions for Norwegian forest cats. And the brutal reality? The symptoms might not show up until months or even years after you've brought your kitten home. A standard 30-day vet check does literally nothing to protect you from these specific, devastating diseases. You need that extended genetic timeline locked down in writing.
Moving to the second half of our toolkit, which focuses on rights and resolution. This locks in exactly when your official registration paperwork is delivered. It also explicitly limits breeding rights, which is usually a hard no for pet-quality cats. Beyond the paperwork, it formally secures post-purchase support, meaning your breeder acts as an ongoing mentor for care and behavior questions. And importantly, it outlines exact dispute resolution steps, providing a clear path forward that keeps everyone out of a courtroom if the relationship sours.
Let's look at how this timeline actually flows, connecting your money, your cat's health, and the paperwork. You usually start with a waitlist deposit, followed by the final payment when the kitten is ready. But pay close attention to steps 3 and 4. A lot of breeders will strategically hold on to those official TICA or FIFA registration documents until you provide actual veterinary proof that the spay or neuter procedure is done. Having this exact timeline mapped out in your contract just eliminates massive amounts of confusion later on.
Section 3. Reading the fine print.
So seeing those core clauses in the document is fantastic, but we really need to agitate the risks hiding in the margins. You have to actively watch out for deliberate vagueness, extreme limitations on the breeder's liability, or clauses that force arbitration over standard legal recourse. Never ever assume that overly ambiguous wording will magically work out in your favor if a serious dispute happens. For example, if the contract says they might help with vet bills instead of will reimburse up to a specific amount, that vague language is a huge liability for you.
So, how do we combat this? Just follow these 3 easy steps. First, read the entire document in full. Second, carefully compare the exclusions against the covered conditions. You need to know exactly what voids your health guarantee. And third, have a friend review it. Look, you usually don't need a fancy, expensive lawyer for a straightforward kitten contract. But let's be real, you're about to get a kitten. You are going to be blinded by pure excitement. Having a clear-headed friend look it over with fresh eyes can catch red flags that you might completely overlook.
Section 4. Breeder red flags.
We know what should be in the contract, but how do you spot a bad deal before the ink even touches the paper? This is the absolute biggest one: a complete refusal to provide a written contract. If a breeder will not put their promises in writing, that is the ultimate warning sign. Reputable breeders view contracts as totally standard practice, not some unusual, demanding request from a buyer. If they give you the old "my word is my bond, we don't need paperwork" routine, that is a totally unacceptable risk. Walk away. Now, sometimes you can negotiate certain things, but you have to separate negotiable nuances from non-negotiable core protections. An established breeder might tweak a specific timeline, like maybe pushing back a spay/neuter deadline by a few weeks if your vet specifically recommends it. That's a nuance. However, core protections, like the genetic health guarantee and the return policy, those are standard practices, those are foundational. They should never, ever be compromised or negotiated away.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final, lingering thought to really chew on. If a breeder won't protect their own kitten in writing, are they truly worth your trust? Remember, this contract is not just about guarding your wallet. It is about advocating for the lifelong well-being of the cat. By demanding clear, written terms, you are empowering yourself to navigate the purebred pet market safely and confidently. Thank you so much for joining me to decode this crucial topic. Stay focused, stay vigilant, and happy learning.